baby! What are they gonna say now? What are they gonna say now?
Number 5. Number 5 is Mr. Stephen Curry.
Oh, wow.
I kind of thought this was a little bit low for Steph.
Finals MVP, like, what is going on, you know?
All right.
His system has the Warriors finishing with 42 wins. Ooh. That would only be good for 8th place in the West. I mean, we are talking about the defending champs. Come on now.
Well, the man did ask a question. And we got an answer. Coming into the season, the Golden State Warriors are in an interesting position, where one group of people thinks the Warriors may have gotten lucky to some extent in terms of injuries and matchups, and another group of people thinks that they have a great opportunity in front of them to repeat. In that aspect, it's somewhat reminiscent of the vibe that we had during the 2015 offseason, but very vaguely, because the Warriors just won what could be their most important and impactful championship of this 8-year run. And with them showing little signs of slowing down, they very well could be on their way to competing for yet another championship. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to talk about the Warriors last season, what might change this year, some of the new opponents they might run into, and that will lead us to answering the question, how likely are they to repeat? So let's get into the video. So as I said before, the Warriors are in an interesting spot. The Western Conference is expected to be possibly its most competitive in years, with the return of a few key players, and also just the improvement of some already great teams. The West is likely going to be tougher this season than it was last season. First and foremost, the LA Clippers are going to be back to contention with the return of Kawhi Leonard, after he missed all of last season with an ACL injury. And it's worth noting that Paul George will also be back after an injury-plagued year. Combine that with the addition of John Wall to the roster, and you could have an extremely dangerous matchup. Although Golden State has been giving this team problems for the last 2 seasons, even with them not being full strength themselves at times. So it is interesting to think about, although I have been taught time and time again to never under any circumstances have any faith in the Clippers.
Second shots though. George, way off, hits the side of the backboard.
So we'll see. Next up is the Denver Nuggets, who are going to see the return of both Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. Despite not having them last year, the team was still fairly good, winning 48 games. So you can only imagine what they're going to do this year now that Jokic's 2 main scoring options are no longer Bones Highland and Monte Morris. However, we still need to see exactly what they'll look like after being out for so long, and we'll probably have a better answer after the preseason is over. Some of the other teams in the West are in that gray area where it seems like they may be able to provide some challenges, but at the same time, we simply just have no idea. The main teams that I'm thinking of that fall into this category are the Dallas Mavericks and the Phoenix Suns. The Mavs had an interesting offseason where they acquired Christian Wood from Houston, who is likely going to be a good fit alongside Luka Doncic. However, they also just lost one of their main ball handlers in Jalen Brunson, and that could be massive, as Brunson was one of the main reasons the Mavericks were even able to make a conference finals push, and also showed a lot of promise in the first round, keeping Dallas afloat with Luka Doncic out. So that is going to hurt, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens. The Phoenix Suns still have not figured out their DeAndre Ayton problem. They have no direction, no owner, and they just lost to a team that is not even in the NBA. And while they did do a good job retaining most of their roster, they didn't make any moves that stand out. They signed Damian Lee and Josh Okogie when free agency opened, and more recently signed TLC, or Timothy Luwawu-Cabarrot, but they didn't really make any moves that might put them clear of some other teams in the West, especially with an aging Chris Paul that apparently completely forgot how to play basketball the day he turned 37. And those are really the most obvious threats that could get in the way of the Warriors' run to the finals, not including the Minnesota Timberwolves, because I simply have no idea what's gonna happen or how that's gonna work. We just have to wait and see. But for now, let's talk about Golden State individually. So last season, the Warriors front office made the controversial decision to try to compete for a championship while also developing young talent. I was not on board with this at first, and I was one of the people that thought we should have traded both the 7th and 14th picks. But Bob Myers once again proved that he knows more about basketball than us. And so now you have this team that has proven that this method is actually possible after so many years of us believing that you could only do one or the other, either develop young players or go all in for a title run. So now more possibilities are opening up, and they have now figured out that this works. And so they made little adjustments. And while they did have a couple good signings such as Dante DiVincenzo and JaMychal Green, they lost 2 huge pieces pieces in Gary Payton II and Otto Porter Jr. And they also lost other support pieces such as Juan Toscano Anderson and Nemanja Bjelica. So it was a clear downgrade for Golden State. However, it isn't such a downgrade that it takes them out of contention. We may find that last year's team could end up being better than this season's team, but they will still be a tough matchup for everybody in the league. Starting with the reason that all of this has even happened. Because somehow, he actually seems to be getting better every time he's in the playoffs, even though he turns 35 this year. And so I still expect Steph to be doing Steph things, and he shows absolutely no signs of slowing down. And then you combine that with a conditioned Klay Thompson, who may have better shot selection this season, now that he's no longer trying to make up 3 years worth of shot attempts in 5 months. He hasn't played in the preseason yet, however he's already said that his plan is to get back into action when the Warriors get back from Japan. And so he's going to be back. Like, actually back this year. Jordan Poole is likely going to make another push. I already went into detail about him specifically, so you can watch that video with the card in the top right of the screen. And Draymond is going to be completely recovered from his back injury from last season, and he's already looked more aggressive on offense in the first 2 preseason games. He's taking and making his threes. And so combine that with everything we already know he can provide to the team, and you could have the Draymond that we used to know from around 2017 to 2018. You have the addition of James Wiseman, who looks very good after being out all of last season with injury. Based on what we're seeing from him in preseason already, it's looking like the Warriors are going to benefit a lot from his interior presence. He's shown promise on defense, and he adds another lob threat to this team. And last but certainly not least, you have Wiggins Island, who showed massive improvement last season, particularly on defense, on his way to earning his first All-Star selection. And so you have this lineup returning, which I still don't know what to call it because I do not like the name Fast Five that was given to it. But with Jordan Poole about to get a contract extension, this could very well be the last time we see these 5 guys on the court together because there just simply won't be enough money. The Miami Heat just gave Tyler Hero $30 million a year, so Jordan is probably going to see that. Well, he already has seen it, and he's going to think that he deserves more, especially if he makes another big leap this season. So depending on how things go, this could be a last dance type of season, and it's become obvious that the window of this specific team is closing and time is ticking. However, like I've been explaining for the last 7 minutes, it's very doable, and even though the Warriors probably did downgrade this offseason, I still have a hard time believing that any team can beat this roster 4 times in a 7-game series. I know what you're saying, Double D, you're a Golden State fan. Of course you're gonna say that, but objectively, I just can't see it. And that's the exact same thing I said last year, and no team that Golden State faced won more than 2 games. The only time they were actually down in a series was against the Celtics when they were down 2-1, and we saw what happened after that. Consider the fact that they went 4-1, 4-2, 4-1, and 4-2 in their matchups, and then consider the fact that Steph, Klay, and Draymond came into that playoffs with 11 minutes of play time together in the regular season. Now you give them an entire year to play together, hopefully, and you add all of the pieces that I just explained, and who knows, they might even be better. So I think that if no major injuries happen, all signs point to Golden State at least getting back to the finals. Now, who would they face in that hypothetical matchup? We'll talk about that another day. But for now, I want to know what you guys think. Do you guys think the Warriors are going back to the finals this season? And if so, who do you think they would face? And would they win that matchup? Let me know what you think. But with all that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you're new. Hit the bell to be notified when I upload. Comment down below what you want to see next. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next one.